underlie, underlie, underlie. So, you want to know more about the word underlie? Well, first of all, it's a verb, which means it's an action word that tells us something is happening or existing. In common usage, underlie usually means that something is hidden or underlying another thing, but still influencing or connected to it. For example, the underlying issue in this conflict is not just about politics, but also about economic power. See how the idea of economic power is beneath the surface, but still important? That's what we mean by underlie. What I want you to note is that underlie often implies a deeper or more fundamental connection between things. So it's not always easy to spot, but with practice and exposure, you'll get a feel for when to use this useful verb. Here are 3 practical example sentences using the word underlie along with their respective contexts. In formal writing, such as an academic paper or a book review, you might say, the researcher's findings suggest that there is a deeper psychological factor underlying the participants' behaviors, which was not immediately apparent. This usage implies that there is a complex or nuanced explanation for a particular phenomenon, and it requires some level of investigation to uncover. In casual conversation with a friend or colleague, you could say something like, I think what really matters in life isn't material wealth, but rather the relationships we build and experiences we have. Those are the things that truly underlie our happiness. This usage implies that there is a fundamental truth or principle at work, which is not immediately obvious. In business or academic contexts, you might say, the company's success is not just due to its innovative products, but rather the strong corporate culture and values that underlie all of its decision-making processes. This usage implies that there is an underlying set of principles or practices that guide a particular outcome or achievement. So you want to know about this concept that is often tricky for learners. But don't worry, I'm here to help. Underlie basically means that there's something deeper or more fundamental that creates or supports something else. Think of it like a foundation or a base. Without it, the thing on top wouldn't exist or would be very different. For example, good health might underlie someone's ability to exercise and feel energetic. It's not just about being healthy, but actually having strong physical condition is what allows them to do those activities in the first place. In terms of similar concepts, you might think of ground or base, or even words like support or enable. As for how it's used, underlie is often used in sentences where someone is trying to explain why something happens or exists. It helps to show that there's a deeper reason behind the surface level facts. Utilize, utilize, utilize. Let's talk about the word utilize. So, utilize is a verb that means to use something in order to achieve a specific purpose or goal, often in an effective and efficient way. For example, she decided to utilize her free time by learning a new language. The key thing to remember is that utilize implies using something for a particular advantage or benefit. So it's not just about doing something, but rather doing it with a specific intention in mind. Here are 3 practical example sentences using the word utilize with their respective contexts. The university's administration plans to utilize its vast library resources by offering online courses and workshops, making it more accessible to students who cannot attend in-person lectures, thereby enhancing their overall educational experience. In casual conversation, a friend might say, I'm trying to learn how to play the guitar, but I never seem to have time to practice. If only I could utilize my commute to listen to guitar lessons on my phone. Meanwhile, in a business setting, a marketing executive might suggest utilizing social media platforms to reach a wider audience and promote their new product launch, thereby increasing brand awareness and driving sales. So you want to learn about utilize. That's a great word. To put it simply, when we say someone is utilizing something, we mean they're making good use of it, taking advantage of its benefits and features. It's like using a tool or a resource in the way it was meant to be used, so you can get the most out of it. Think of it like this. If you have a super powerful computer that can help you with your work or studies, but instead of using it to speed up your tasks and free up time for other things, you just let it sit there collecting dust, well, that's not utilizing it. On the other hand, someone who uses that computer to finish their projects on time and have more energy left over at the end of the day is truly utilizing its potential. Adapt. 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 So, you want to know about the word adapt? Well, it's a verb, which means it's an action word that shows what someone or something is doing. The most common way people use adapt is in phrases like to adapt to something, meaning to change your behavior or way of life in order to fit into or deal with a new situation. For example, I had to adapt my diet after moving to a new country where the food was very different. It's also used when talking about making changes to an existing system, idea, or plan to make it work better. Like the company had to adapt its marketing strategy to reach a wider audience. One important note is that adapt often implies that someone or something is changing in response to external circumstances, rather than simply changing their mind or decision. As we're discussing language learning strategies, I'd like to provide you with some practical examples of using the word adapt. In a formal context, such as a job interview, someone might say, I believe it's essential for any organization to adapt to changing market conditions in order to remain competitive. This shows that the person is aware of the importance of flexibility and willingness to adjust plans or strategies. Moving on to a casual conversation with a friend, you could say, I had to adapt my plan to visit the theme park because there was too much traffic on the road, but we still managed to have a great day out. This example illustrates how the word can be used in everyday life to describe making adjustments to unexpected situations. Finally, in an academic or business context, someone might say, the new software update allows us to adapt our research methodology to better suit our needs, leading to more accurate results. Here, the emphasis is on the ability of a system or process to change and improve based on feedback or new information. So you're trying to figure out what adapt means? Well, essentially, it's about changing something so that it fits in with a new situation or environment. When we adapt something, like a plan or a way of doing things, we're making adjustments to make sure it works well in the new context. It's kind of like updating a recipe for a different type of flour or adjusting the rules of a game, because there are more players now. Mainly, adapting is about being flexible and making small changes so that something stays effective or useful even when things change around you. Some other words that might mean similar things are adjust, modify, or accommodate. They all have to do with changing something a bit to make it fit better in a new place or situation.